549.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the Redeye.
Ring this number for a good time.
welcome to the Redeye stream number 213. Magic Bollocks is a prick. That's today's topic. How are you guys doing?
Good evening.
Hello.
And good night. That's it. The show's over, guys. We're out of here. No.
That's fine, because the topic tomorrow night is Mad Dodger's a trap.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah, no, we're just going to do a random show today on as I kill my fucking dog. I'll be right back.
But that's it? That's what this stream is.
No, there is some fucking wild turkeys outside the house, and my damn dog, the turkey would peck his fucking eyeballs out, all right? This dog is fucking tiny, and he thinks he could take a wild turkey. Not just one, but like 5 of them. No, you dumb dog. You can't take them out. Shut the fuck up. God damn it.
You're missing your chance at a viral video.
I am, yeah.
Well, you said you wanted one of your videos to go viral, so there's the first bit there, Mad Dodge animal cruelty. Mad Dodge is actually potentially got, some kind of fetish for injured animals. I think you could be a closet furry.
No, I'm wondering, should I pull the crossbow?
Yeah, I think you don't necessarily want to tell them about all of your plans involving videos, sir.
Well, no, should I take down the compound bow and grab my broadheads and drop one of these damn turkeys in front of the neighbors and everybody? Like, I don't give a fuck. Fuck this turkey.
It is Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I know, right? But we already have a 25-pound turkey in the freezer. Like, I don't need a wild turkey. They're kind of gamey and skinny, aren't they?
No, not really. They're not too bad. I mean, it's wildfowl. I mean, I used to hunt pheasants and stuff, and it has a taste to it. But gamey is really a matter of preparation, really more than anything else. I mean, once you kill it, you got to bleed it right away, and then it's not going to taste bad or anything. It's just going to be like any other, thing. It might be a little less fat, maybe, but wild turkeys generally have plenty of fat on them.
Well, no, and my 11-year-old daughter's like, go ahead, but I'm not plucking it. I'm like, your mom's not here. You are plucking it. If I kill the fucker, you're plucking it.
Have you ever plucked fowl before?
I've gone duck hunting, so yeah.
All right, so you gotta heat up a bucket of water, like a boiling bucket of water, dip it real quick, and then pluck it off that way.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, go for it, man.
Are you a hard plucker, Mad Dodge?
Shut the fuck up, Paul.
I sure heard.
Do you pluck all day and you pluck all night?
Pluckety pluck.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what this stream is going to be like during Thanksgiving.
So, what did I miss?
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing. We're gonna go outside here with my cell phone and kill a wild turkey.
He's not necessarily.
Mad Dodge is going to pluck on air.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. How-to video on how to pluck a fucking wild turkey. I mean, that'll get some clicks. How's it going, Pinoid?
A live.
What's going on with y'all motherfuckers tonight? Anybody hear about this sitting House representative who wants to nuke U.S. citizens?
No, do tell.
Yes, you have. I already told you about it this morning. You and my husband were having a conversation about it.
Oh, that's right. I was drunk. I forgot. Sorry. I remember now.
I think like everybody should really hound on this right now. A sitting U.S. fucking senator from California, this Democrat guy, said if we don't want to give up our guns, America has nukes, and it'll be a short war.
Yeah, good luck. You're not going to nuke your own citizens. And first off, I bet you we get to the guy with the button before he presses it. There's enough of us with guns. Like, fuck off. It's not gonna
work. Already retracted his statement and said that it was a joke.
I feel as though that's his actual feelings about things.
It is.
I think it's very close to his actual feelings. He wants to start the Civil War. He believes he believes in that kind of crap.
Well, hey,
and he's like a lot of them. They talk a big freaking game about what the military is like and that the military can do X, Y, Z, but he himself has no understanding of what it means to do X, Y, Z because he's never been in the military.
Well, no,
Yeah,
and
but
MC,
isn't that
I already got my
cheating?
Confederate. I already have my Confederate flag ready. He wants to start the Civil War. Let's do this. I got my Confederate money.
Yeah, but that's cheating a little bit. If you want to start civil war, is actually going straight to the nukes.
Yeah, like he wants to go straight to like nuclear drone strikes, not giving up their guns. I feel like that's that's a bad way to go about things.
Yeah.
Me personally, I think maybe like this dude here like should be disciplined, or at minimum ran out of office on a rail. You know what I'm saying? Like we should not have as a representative of the United States of America.
Yeah, but the thing you got to remember is that the district that he serves, that's how those people feel and how they think. They don't see anything wrong. I guarantee you, his constituency sees absolutely nothing wrong with what he said.
I believe that. Legitimate. I believe that completely. Okay,
I have a question, Pinoid.
What's up, Shorty? Do what?
What is the problem with him having an opinion? I mean, yeah, it sucks. He's part of the government.
No,
let me finish. Yes, that what he said is outright horrible. I will agree with you, and you already heard my argument earlier today. If you don't remember it, that sucks to be you. But
you get abused, you don't even know what you're getting abused about now.
Well,
man.
no, I remember the conversation, but the thing is, though, yeah, you're allowed to have a motherfucking opinion. But if you're in the House of Representatives and you're talking about nuking citizens, there's a goddamn problem here.
He already retracted his statement saying that he was trying to joke.
No, wait a minute. I want to fuck Drew Barrymore up the ass. Oh, wait, I retract that statement. I'm just kidding, guys.
Well, no, I'm sorry. He may have retracted his statement as a joke. And, like, I don't have an issue with individuals joking, whatever the case might be, right? But the reality is that the dude legitimately feels this way about the American electorate as a whole outside of his district. And you're representing the United States of America. You're representing all of us. It's not just your district. You represent all of us. And if you have that type of ill will towards the rest of your citizenry because of a constitutionally held right and belief, like there, you know what I mean? Like legitimately, you took an oath of office to defend the fucking office and constitution against any and all fucking comers, like period. And you legitimately feel this way about that document, you should not be in that office.
Well, I will give you that.
That you took an oath of office, right? You said, I will defend this constitution against any enemies, foreign or domestic. He happens to be a domestic enemy of the state. He should be ran out of office, legitimately.
Well, there's no better way of defending your people by having no people left to defend.
Very true. Very true. I mean, they want more taxpayers. Like you heard about Italy, they're standing there paying women to reproduce because they don't have enough future taxpayers to be able to pay for the social benefits that they're borrowing against today. Right? And I mean, that's why we're bringing all these immigrants. That's why everybody's cool with the Mexicans coming in, because they want to tax their grandkids. That's the basic premise of how all this shit really is shaking out. It's not about they want to replace us. It's just about the fact that, they want more taxpayers and we're not making it.
I don't even think it's a tax base. I think the Democratic Party wants the refugees in because that's more votes for the Democratic Party. Less times they have to go to the graveyard and take down a name so someone can double vote.
Well, this is leftist economic theory. Legit, if you look up a guy named Mark Blight. He's one of the most interesting economists you can ever listen to. And he has a lot of really good points about things, and he's right. But he said, look, the reason why they want to bring all these immigrants into Europe and into America is because they want to have their grandkids as taxpayers. It's that simple. It's not about taxing the first or second generation because, second generation might be okay, but the third one's going to be full citizens and be up to snuff and have the ability to pay the taxes that they're fronting the bill on today.
But here's the question, Pinoid.
that's just
real quick. If he was talking about nuking all the women's, would you be okay with that?
Y'all love women. But don't you understand? Yo, look, I have daughters. I got a wife. You know, I don't have a wife anymore, but I had a wife. You know what I'm saying? I have a mom and a baby sister who I love to death. I don't hate women. All right, I just want the responsibility for them. Like, yo, because I'm responsible for them already. I just want to have the authority to be able to make sure that they don't fuck my life up anymore.
Fair enough,
Good
sir.
luck.
I was just kidding. I'm laughing
Yeah.
here with the mic muted. I'm sorry, dude.
Yo, a lot of people think I hate bros. I don't hate bros in any way, shape, or form. I love vagina and I love women. All right, like I'm bad. Like I can't say no to pussy. Legitimately, like I can stop chasing it. Even that requires some rehab. It chased me, nigga. I can't run that fast. I fall down like a white bitch in a scary movie. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, I
Your head.
pain in the woods.
Yeah. Yeah, you hear a noise outside. You're the one going outside to check on it. You're getting raped by these broads. I got you, buddy. It's all good.
I heard something. Do I smell? Do I smell CK1, bitch? Like the fuck? Is that Armani? But anyway, MC had a question.
No, I didn't have a question. I was just it just irritates me when these guys make these kind of comments, especially people like him he makes a comment about what the military can be like and what the military is like and what it does, as if somehow he understands the military, as if he himself is one of the directors of the military, as if this is the kind of crap that irritates the snot out of me. He thinks because he's a sitting congressman in the United States that he himself directs the military. He puts himself up there thinking that he's higher than a general, that he's higher than the officers, that he can sit up there and order something like this, right? Now, granted, I'm not saying that he didn't say this tongue-in-cheek, all right? I don't believe he was necessarily serious. But the reality is that there's too many people that make too many flippant comments, all right? Now, Styx did a video on this. Okay, and I had no problem with his overall take, but I did have a problem when he tried to conflate it with the actions against Move, all right, in Philadelphia. You know, and because he didn't describe what happened in that situation correctly, right? Which is why I did a rant on what Move actually was. But these guys, these representatives like this, he is another example. He's a Bernie Sanders. He's a Bernie Sanders from California. He has never in his entire adult life held a freaking public sector or a private sector position. He's never made money on his own. His snout has been in the public trough his entire career.
Yeah, we talked about this on my show today. That's what the majority of these fucking people are like. They've never fucking sweat for shit. They've never sweated for shit. They've never dug a hole. They've never dug a ditch. They've never fucking ran a fucking drill. They've never ran a fucking cutting torch. They've never turned a wrench. They don't know shit about working. Right? To me, individuals who go backpacking in Europe for 2 fucking months and live in hostels and some bed bug infested fucking, you know what I mean, shithole in Switzerland is as foreign to motherfucking me as fucking chimpanzees are to them. And I mean, like, I couldn't imagine living that type of lifestyle and having that type of ability. These people are completely sheltered, whining, fucking soft pussy human beings who legitimately, if it was up to me, you know what I mean, I'd put them in a fucking camp somewhere and make them work and make them understand what it is to really earn some shit.
So what you're suggesting is to go the whole Killing Fields route. Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm gonna go like partway gulag, but feed the motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, make sure they got food.
Yeah. Old Pignard's just declared war on the middle class by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I'm
Stop right there. Hold on. Stop right there. What does that have to do with the middle class?
Yeah, but step into the oven.
No.
This way.
That is what he's saying.
I'm part of the middle class, and like, you know, like I'm poor as shit. Like, define middle class here, my friend. You know what I mean? Like,
see, what I wanted to point out with that is Bollocks has a different view because he's coming from Britain of the middle class than what it means to the average American.
What would you class those sort of people then? The ones you, like you said, the ones who go to Harvard and don't actually pay for it because daddy's already got the money and can go traveling, and again, it's all paid for by somebody else, and then they just walk into, say, a job in journalism.
We call them elitists. That's what we call them. We don't
Right.
call them middle class. Middle class is in the United States. Middle class refers almost strictly to you have enough money to feed your family and go on a vacation here and there once in a while because you've got enough money. That's what middle class is. Lower middle class is maybe you don't go on a vacation every year. Maybe you only get your vacations once in a while, but you're busting your ass to the bone because it's all related to the amount of money you have, not the lifestyle that you're living per se. It's kind of a different concept. We don't have a European concept of the middle class that you guys have. And I first realized that listening to one of the comments from I think it was Sargon, all right, where he made the comment and then he started to describe what the middle class is, and I'm like, that's not the middle class, that's the upper crust. You know what I mean? You know that those are the people that are rich.
Yeah,
I sort of middle class is I suppose they are sort of the ones who earn well above the average. They can still afford to live in the leafy suburbs, you know, that's still 99% white, even though they're the ones who like to say about how much they love diversity. They would have been the ones who predominantly voted to remain in the European Union. And, you know, the ones we would sort of call the I'm all right jacks, you know, everything's fine, so fuck everybody else.
Okay,
whereas
J.K. Rowling is not middle class, right? You don't consider her middle class. Come on.
No, she would. Well, I had this argument with Common Sense because he says she's upper class because of her wealth. Now, I don't think necessarily your wealth dictates your class, because if I was to win the lottery, I would have several million quid, but I would still behave and act like I was working class because of my upbringing and how I am. Because, you know, obviously the royal family would be considered upper class because of how they are, you know, the etiquette and all the shit they subscribe to. But that's the thing.
I think the problem is the word. Right? I think what we should be referring to is caste in your society, right? Like you're talking about caste, like, well, you know, the upper caste and the lower caste of individuals. And I mean, we're not talking about we're talking about class, like where like if we hit the lottery, we would immediately move to the upper class in America.
Yep.
Immediately we would be considered upper class because that's what our tax bracket would say. Like you are dictated by your tax bracket in America as per what your class is. Like it doesn't matter. Like Donald Trump is not considered low class. He's not considered middle class. Donald Trump is, everybody knows he's rich.
Yep.
You know, and that's kind of the deal. Like, you know, and middle class here is like, it's a big stretch. Like legit, it's everybody from like what, 35,000 to almost like 150, 200 grand a year.
About 200 now. I mean, 200 is definitely in the upper middle class range, getting close to the well off range.
Yeah.
And then anyone over $1 million is basically rich.
You know, that's kind of like for me, like I came up super blue collar, really borderline poverty, low class, right? And with us, like we thought motherfuckers who lived in houses that weren't attached to anybody else, we thought they were millionaires. You know what I mean? Like that, but we would still be considered like middle class, I guess, the British and shit. You know, like, yo.
Well, no, because what's interesting is you're exactly right. You used a term that actually I think I probably should have used for Box when he asked that question, which is, okay, we have the term blue collar, which means these are the guys that are on the ground getting their hands dirty, blue collar workers. Okay, your plumbers, your welders, your steel workers, anybody that's working with their hands. All right. Farmers are considered blue collar in most states, etc. Even though some of them are some of the richest sons of bitches on the planet, right?
But would you call them middle class though?
White collar is what you're referring to for us, which their hands never get dirty. Their families have never you know gotten down and worked in anything like that. They've always had like clerical jobs, or their dads always had clerical jobs.
Wait. No, because there's a lot of individuals who like this is their like the last like the baby boomer generation. They came up, you know what I mean, with an individual in a household who was working as a blue collar guy, and he worked out a blue collar and became a white collar person.
Yes.
That's a lot of these people. You know what I mean? Like they came from the bottom. But like once they got up there, like these dudes in the past 50 years haven't seen work in their family. But a lot of them did come from working. Like I know a dude, he started off at the ground in UPS. My step grandfather, he started off at the ground in UPS. He ended up a millionaire by the time he fucking retired as a fucking negotiator for the union, for the Teamsters.
Oh, fucking the Teamsters. Damn.
Yeah.
That's not connected at all, but anyway.
I'm a guinea. You know the situation. Get the fuck out of here. Like, I don't know what you expected me. Like, God, we earned our ways in different manners, but we earned our
Fair enough, sir. I tip my hat to you.
Mr. Quinn, I noticed that your sister is referring to herself as working class in the chat. Can you tell her from me she isn't? She's scum.
Oh, jeez.
You can tell her that prostitutes are considered working class, just so you know.
Ah, okay. The thing is, it's so blurred now. What the old class system, because I remember when was it, about 2011, the Beeb decided to come up with a new class system, and instead of just being the three, which was working, middle, and upper, suddenly there was about 17 different. And I took the test, and I ended up coming out as, was it lower end or 2/3 level working class or some shit like that. And it's like, what? And it was all about no longer just how much you earn, do you own your own house, do you own your own car and things like that. It was going into, political beliefs, religious beliefs and all that. And apparently that can elevate you into the middle if you've got the right opinions. And if you haven't, then you're back in Scumsville again.
That's a bunch of bullshit. That's not how this works.
Well, that's how it does. That's not how it works in the United States. We got to remember the United States is. I've tried to explain this to people before. We are not. When you talk about like Western Europe and some of the cultural dynamics that go on, they don't apply to the United States. And even though there's terms like middle class that seem to be the same, they really have a different context when applied to the United States from the way the Europeans mean them and the way the Europeans describe them. Now, my dad, for example, grew up. All right, he was a radio man in the Navy. When he got out, he went to work for the phone company, right? And he started off at the very bottom, where he was literally rigging wires back in the days when you had telephone wires, going from place to place. At one point, all right, he almost died because one of the poles that he was on when he was rigging the wires snapped while he was on top of it. All right, and he came home all freaking bloodied and bruised. Right, I grew up in a trailer. Right, MADDS talks about he's in a trailer, but I grew up in a mobile trailer, one that was on wheels. All right, at that age. Now, as my dad moved up in the company, all right, our circumstances became better and better, and then he went back home, all right, back on the farm, and brought all his kids back on the farm, all right. But he still worked for the phone company, but he had a small little farm as he got to this point. This is why many people don't realize this. So I basically grew up on the farm, but I do remember when I was, very, very young. I was only 2 or 3 when my dad was still working on those lines in the phone company. I have blurred memories of some of that stuff, and my mom would tell us stories and stuff to keep us grounded into what our lives used to be like. People don't, but that was, we never considered ourselves. We considered ourselves poor at one point, but we never considered ourselves, middle class or upper class or anything like that, because it all applied. I mean, as far as lower class, we never considered ourselves a lower class. We just considered ourselves, we were either poor or not poor. It's a different dynamic in the United States. We don't have the idea that you're somehow better than me because you grew up in a family that went to Harvard.
Well, exactly, and we have the ability to move up, unlike a lot of European cultures, especially in the UK. Like Magic, can you become a fucking lord? I mean, like, is that even within the realm of possibility? I probably doubt it.
Well, unless you're a landed gentry, not normally. Although you can now buy those packs that have. That buy you, I think it's about a quarter of land up in Scotland, so that you can technically call yourself a lord. Although it's not actually, It's not actually a lord. I think it's lard. It's actually pronounced because it's Scotland, and if you own land up in Scotland, you can't call yourself a lord. Because I only know this because an ex-girlfriend of mine had been doing genealogy and found that some relatives of hers in the 14th century might have been fucking ancestrally related to royalty, and so she asked me to buy her this bloody thing so she could pretend that she was now a fucking lady because she owned like a quarter of a fucking yard of land up in Scotland.
A quarter of a yard? What the fuck?
What the fuck is a quarter of? You own like
what is a quarter of a yard?
Square foot of fucking land.
What's a yard? Yeah, what's a yard of land?
Probably about the same size as room that's left in Mad Dodge's trailer once he gets all 117 kids in.
So basically, just a small little foot by foot square of land.
Probably, and if you put the smallest trowel into the ground, I think that's about it. I know it's just one of those many. I suppose somebody came up with it. It's one of those novelty presents you buy for somebody on their birthday or Christmas.
Does it have to be land in? Does it have to be land on the British Isles?
It has to be ancestral land. Some royalty owned at some point in history. It's it's the same. It's the equivalent of when somebody gives you an honorary degree, MC. And people then start putting it on their documents, pretending they are actually a doctor or a professor. It's just I
am pointless. Dr. Mad Dodge. Damn it! Don't you fucking take that away from me. No, I'm kidding.
I get it. So you're a plastic paddy, and now you're a plastic doctor as well. Well done.
That didn't work out well, did it, Mad Dodge?
Oh, it worked out fine. I'm going for the triumphant here.
Well, according to Mad Dodge, he said one of his ancestors owned a castle, so he could be a lord, is what you're saying.
Owned a cat? Was it made out of Lego?
No, he's actually got the name of it and everything. He wants it back. He keeps bitching at freaking Cabbage.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. I'm related to Lord North. They turned my castle into a goddamn school. I want those kids out of the fucker, and I want my castle back.
What county is this in, Mad Dodge? I want to go visit it so I can burn it down.
God damn it! But.
Hey, man, they're take pictures of Mad Dodge's castle as a bird. This look familiar?
Live stream.
Yeah. Well, at least it'll be worth it, wouldn't it?
Stone. Like, how the fuck does that work? Castle, how the fuck do you set stone on fire?
Because
stone.
Well,
one thing about the Europeans, we're very good at arson.
Is that where the term Jewish lightning came from? Is that the situation?
It's an interesting thought. The German perfected it about 70 years ago.
The reason that castles burn is that yes, some of the walls are stone, but it's braced up basically with wood.
Yeah,
mainly because did it use stone to brace it? Yo, Matt,
well, actually,
because they don't have enough stone on the freaking island. They have lots of wood.
I would say most houses are actually probably at least a quarter wood. So, yeah, especially the ceilings and the foundation has a lot in it. So, yeah, burning down a house in this country is very, very easy. So, watching Mad Dodge's castle go up would be a nice delight for you boys. We could have him doing the sob stream, couldn't he? As he watched, the last bit of his ancestral heritage going up in flames.
There's a tear in my beer.
Well, it won't be an Irish tear, though, is it, you faker?
Don't forget to put up a Red Sox banner to really rub the salt in.
Oh, Jensen.
That's a brilliant idea. I'm going to get one and put it on the top of the castle so you can see it burn last as well.
The last insult, they run up a freaking Red Sox banner. Oh my goodness, this took a turn I didn't expect. I can tell you that.
Yeah, well, you guys are fucked, and you know, you think the Dodgers fucked up. At least we made it to the World Series. How's those Niners doing, Pinoid?
Man, you a Niners fan too. Don't you be fucking sitting here. Like, you ain't a Niners fan. Don't be trying to jump off the bandwagon. Get the fuck out of here.
Fair point.
You were with me. Me and you was in the same pot. All right, our team sucks right now. It is what it is. You know, we're gonna go down with the ship. I don't give a fuck. All right.
Oh, that quarterback in his knee fucking busted, dude. Like, could we have worse luck? Didn't we just give him $100 million? Like, son of a bitch.
Gave him $100 million, and now he's not fucking playing. Third game of the season, fucking knee gets blown the fuck out, running away from defenders because our fucking offensive line gives an insult to pylons. That's what the fuck this is.
Yeah, this is why I don't watch football lately.
I'm surprised, Pinoy, that you're not a Phillies fan or possibly a Steelers fan from the area that you came from.
I'm a good person. That's why I can't be an Eagles fan. All right, good people, Eagles fan.
For our British colleagues, Philadelphia fans, for the Philadelphia Eagle fans, are so bad they actually booed and threw snowballs like Santa Claus
and battery. They threw battery fucking Santa Claus.
And it's not a joke.
Underneath of the Eagle Stadium.
Who the fuck does that to Santa? These dirty bastards.
The game's on. District justice fucking charges people with crimes just for the sheer amount of fights that happen at the goddamn game. Because like Eagles fans are horrible human beings who honestly, I the White House by gov petition to give Philadelphia, New Jersey, like fucking 8 years ago, and it didn't get any. Obama wouldn't give me no goddamn justice. Fucking fuck Obama, bastard. Oh, bitch. Fuck him.
You see, what you've never adopted from us, which you should have done, was the reason why there used to be problems with football hooliganism. It was because the hooliganism was far more entertaining to watch than the actual sport itself.
We have hockey for that.
I know, but it really used to be quite entertaining, just waiting for everybody would tune in thinking, oh, the football's on. No, we're not interested in that. We're waiting for the fans to rip each other to shreds. And there was actually at one point our betting companies used to take bets on which hooligans would actually walk out with less injuries this time rather than actually taking bets on the score.
You're taking Betty Bull as people are reading the injury report for the fans.
Yeah, and it really is sad that this new generation just doesn't embrace the violence of sort of like the generation before. Because
I don't know, have you seen a Niners and a Raiders game? Pretty much watch the crowd. They're the ones ripping each other apart.
Oh, that's nothing. He's right about that. You go back and take a look at what was going on in the Raiders games back in the 70s. And what that was like. There was a reason they called it a black hole. It was
Yo, they used to pee on the players as they fucking came out the
It used to be a lot. It used to be a lot more, a much more violent sport than what it's turned into. People who grew. See, I grew up in the 70s, in the early 80s. All right. Well, actually, I graduated in 81, but I remember those football games. I remember what they were like. I remember seeing Deacon Jones with that club of his as a hand, slapping the freaking, offensive player on the head and watching his knees buckle because he gave him a concussion.
I'm a little bit jealous, actually. You have to see Joe Montana in his glory days. I have to watch old footage to see that shit. I saw him in the city, man. Fucking Steve Young, yeah.
Oh, that was the best game ever. Like, when Joe Montana fucked up Steve Young that day, man, they said fucking like, yeah, Steve Young's a great quarterback, but the NFL, fucking Joe Montana's a god. Misunderstood. See, this is when I came up, and Joe Montana grew up down the street from my fucking grandmother and shit, down there by fucking Pittsburgh.
No shit. We had I don't remember his last name right now, but Hall of Famer defensive lineman for the 49ers. His wife owned a travel agency in the town where I went to high school. I actually had his fucking David Wilcox. Yeah, I had his fucking autograph. Yeah. Like I met the dude, shook his hand, and it was pretty fucking cool. So
Hasn't
I got to
washed it since.
gamer.
Explains a
Yeah.
lot, doesn't it? No,
Yeah,
I mean,
I got home from my
Go ahead.
door today. And like, yo, it was pretty cool. I put the interview up on my fucking YouTube channel and shit.
Yeah, no, but one of the things that, look, I'm not saying that violence is necessarily a good thing, right? But I think our people have forgotten that human beings are animals, that we have animalistic tendencies. I think this idea that somehow we can be that we can be turned into non-violent creatures denies the facts that we're human beings to an extent. One of the problems that I've seen is in my opinion, right, is the reason people see all these police, the reason people talk about all these police, all right, is that everything's a friggin' crime. Everything and anything is a crime. If you get slapped by a woman, she hasn't assaulted you, all right? If a husband slapped a wife, it's not good, all right? It's something to say, hey, what's going on here? But is that really a crime considering the situation necessarily? It could become one if it becomes serious. But there was a time period when we used to take care of these things in-house. There was a time period when we didn't call the police because for every little nitnoid thing on the planet, where everything, because somebody gets yelled at now, all right, it's a crime. If somebody sits up there and says something mean to you on YouTube, it's a crime. People have forgotten that, like a woman gets touched on an ass. Oh, she's been sexually assaulted. No, a guy touched her on the ass, and she has the right to turn around and slap him. And if that happens, it's like, okay. Now, if a guy is continually pawing at her or something, then you expect not the police, not to have to call the police to come in there. You expect, all right, that the other guys are going to say, leave her the flip alone. That's enough, all right? If he's ignoring her protests. These things weren't necessarily crimes. We're human beings. And I was thinking about this because I was playing with, we've got a new dog, and she's a puppy still, even though she's about a year old now. She's fairly large. All right. She's a middle-sized dog, but she's gotten up to where her adult size will basically be. She'll grow a little bit more, but not much more. Right. But she plays with me, and of course she's roughhousing and she's biting at me and things like that. And I'm like, okay, this is the dog just being a dog. This is a dog that's just, it's not tearing me up. It's not trying to kill me. It's trying to play. All right. The idea that somehow we have gotten to the point where any kind of physical contact is somehow an assault or possible assault, depending upon people saying, hey, did you really want it now? Was that really okay? It's just nonsense. And because we've made it all a crime is why we have all these freaking police. We don't need all these police. The police weren't there to protect an individual. They weren't there to handle these kinds of things. They were there because the whole purpose of the police was to make sure that society overall remained safe, not to jump in the middle of a family dispute. Now, I'm not saying that these things can't get out of control, because they can. But just because something can get out of control doesn't mean we should go through the process of saying, okay, we're going to codify this into every situation like this is a crime. It's nonsense. It's out of control. And this is one of the biggest problems we have in our society. You can't spank a child. Well, the people who've got that come up with that, all right, didn't raise me. And you know why? Because there was no possibility they could have raised me. As I remember as a 10-year-old already thinking, if you don't put a physical, and I'm talking directly, if you don't have physical context or consequences for what I intend to do, that means I can do whatever the hell I want. All right. I've gotten arguments with them. I said, they say, no, we'll take things away. What are you going to take away? All right. Well, we're going to take away your TV. Well, I walk over and I turn the TV on. Well, you shut it off. I turn it back on.
Yeah,
I tell you to go to your room. No. What are you going to do? At some point, you have to take physical action with people like me, because I've already thought it through. This is the idea that people can't, don't think these things through. And I'll be honest with you. I've gotten spanked. All right. They were not done because my dad was sitting up there just a drunk, going over there. I earned each and every one of my spankings. Okay, I can tell you that right now. Because I remember getting spanked for things. Let's see if I'm going to get spanked for this.
Well, yeah, no, and that's the thing, MC. Like, okay, my son threatening to fucking run away. I'm like, no, you're not going out that door. He takes a step. I get up. He takes another step. He's 13. He thinks he's bigger than the old man. I go to move him. I grab him by the shoulders and go to move him back into his room. He takes a basketball flop. A day later, I have 2 cops and a social worker at my door. What the fuck? Like, seriously, I didn't even shove this kid. I went to move him back to his room. He did a fucking old school basketball flop, and then I have the cops at my door. Yeah, dude, we're not even able to raise our own children.
I would have been hell on my parents. All right. If the society existed today when I grew up, my parents probably would have been going out of their friggin' minds because of just who I was at that time. My mother has said things, and this is very true. My brother, all right, my older brother growing up, he was probably the most accident-prone person, all right, in the world. Okay, he would just he literally was one of those people that attracted accidents. For example, he would walk out the front door. There's a little ice on the thing. He would be the one who slip on the ice, fall backwards, and crack his head on the stone steps. Okay, that's just what he was like. He was going to the hospital at least once or twice a year for head injuries, and these were not head injuries caused by anything but him doing something. Like, for example, one time, I'm not sure where he came up with this idea, but he decided he wanted to kill ants. I remember this because we were 5 and 4 at the time. He wanted to kill ants. So what he was doing is he found a brick, and he was throwing the brick up in the air and letting it fall on where the ants were. Well, he threw the brick up in the air, and it fell on his head. This is a true story. Nowadays, my parents are probably getting arrested because they would say, no. We know for a fact that you beat your kid, and that's why he's got a skull crack. And it's like, no, the kid did it to himself. I mean, it amazes me that these people can't look at these things and say, wait a minute, what kind of society are we living in today? And it's all because we've got this idea that we can sanitize all of this to where, okay, well, a child can never be harmed. Nothing can ever happen to this child. It's not reality. We're trying to it's not the way the world works, and it's not how humans actually are. Okay, we are animals, and the male animal is, whether you like it or not, aggressive. You've got to allow some of that aggression to come out.
Yeah, but what are you going to do? It's like these girls you send to Catholic school, right? All girls school. When they graduate and go to college, they end up being the biggest slut on campus, right? Why?
What do you mean when they graduate? They're what during high school? They will get a train ran on them in class in high school. Not when they graduate. It was when when they're actually in school. They're always sluts. Catholic schoolgirls, they're always sluts. I'm just saying that. You know what I mean? From personal.
Well, no. Well, that's the point. It's because you're trying to shelter them so much that they bust through the third wall, so to say, or whatever.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. My outlook is this, and I was probably the same outlook that MC does, and I put a lot of thought into this. In a relationship, you're 2 individuals trying to occupy the same space. You are 2 animals trying to live in the same space and make everything work. And at the same time, you've taken all the responsibility for both of these individuals, plus any offspring that they have, and placed it on one of them. And then the moment he tries to take authority over these fucking relationship and these offspring, he ends up fucking, being charged with the goddamn crime for trying to protect his motherfucking financial ability to continue to care for the fucking, relationship and offspring as it is. And that's really where it is we have a position in America and our whole culture where you're responsible for everybody around you, but you have no authority over said responsibility. And that's something that has to be discussed and has to fucking, basically we have to sit here and correct this entire situation because it's fucking plain wrong the whole way through. And
Well,
you
yeah.
can't have this because people are going to revolt. It is what it is.
Well, no, I don't want to snap back to the 50s or anything. But the thing
I want to
is,
start back
yeah.
to like the 1450s. Get the fuck out of here. I want to start.
Yeah, I got to answer. I got to say something here real quick. I hope you don't mind. Quinn, B, I actually did not have a stash because I had a baby face for the longest time. I wasn't able to grow a stash until like year 4 in the Army because my facial hair was that fine when I was growing up. I couldn't grow a stash to save my life.
Right, in that case, can we throw the question back? When did B grow her first mustache?
Oh, jeez,
Brutal. No, but no, like I said though, like all I did was try and move him back to his room because he's 13 years old and he thought he was going to run away. We live 65 miles outside of the closest town. Where the fuck are you going to go other than being eaten by a goddamn bear? Like, we're in the middle of the fucking Cascades, kid. You're not leaving my house. And then I had social workers and cops at my door.
Well, this is what I'm saying. You are responsible for him. You're responsible for him, but you have no authority over him. There's the moment you discipline him, fucking some CYS worker and police show up at your fucking door.
And this is those freaking harpies are some of the worst freaking people. They're the most judgmental people on the planet. Oh, there's never a reason to spank a child. You don't know. You've come back with this whole psychology crap about how things are supposed to be. Here's my problem with the whole CPS bullshit. Everyone talks about how important they are and how much of a good thing that they are and how much good that they do. Really? Then why isn't? Now, their main purpose was to educate people to reduce child abuse. How come ever since they've come into existence, child abuse has gotten worse? Can you explain to me that? And I can tell you how it's happening because their philosophies of life, their attitudes about human beings are shit. They're the same freaking stupidity that came from Dr. Spock, whose own kid was a freaking reprobate to the point eventually, all right, where his own kid freaking committed suicide. All right. This idea that these people are the people we should be listening to, no. It isn't the people we should be listening to. And what's more is you've got to give people room to be to deal with the situation, to be human beings with one another. Not like what's going on in society today, where you end up with people like Mike Pence, who's afraid to even be seen, all right, alone with another woman at a luncheon. He refuses to be alone because of what could happen and what it could indicate. That's how ridiculous our society has gotten.
I got charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault for disciplining my kid. The CYS lady, when she showed up with the state trooper to fucking question me about what was fucking going on with my kid, right? And I was telling her, like, who my kid was. You know what I mean? Like, by explaining to her, like, his situation, where he comes from. You know what I mean? Like, the shit that we've been through as a family. And she goes, why would he ever even fucking be going through this? When I was 5, 6 years old, I was going to Disney World every year. I was like, bitch, look at my window. You see that fucking Budweiser fucking 12-pack of fucking the cardboard on the fucking joint, duct tape to the air conditioner to keep the fucking bugs out? Like, bitch, this is not where the fuck you come from. I'm lower middle class. I'm paying $2,000 a month in child support, working 3 fucking jobs trying to keep a roof over me and my son's fucking head. He's going to catch an ass whooping when he fucks up because that's the life that we fucking come from. And they charged me. They fucking charged me and eventually just dropped all the charges, dismissed everything. But I went through 2 years of being on bail for fucking aggravated assault for fucking whooping my kid's ass.
And it's a whooping that the kid probably doesn't even remember when it happened. All right, I'm dead serious.
Yo, and here's the real. I know, and here's the real bitch. There was never a mark on him, never a broken bone, never a bruise, never anybody who actually fucking said, oh, were you okay? It was him running his motherfucking mouth, all right? Because he got in trouble and wanted to bury somebody the fuck else instead of taking his fucking punishment.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what my son did to me. After all that shit happened, suddenly the social worker's like, well, what if he stayed at his mom's for a little bit? I'm like, well, his mom signed away all rights, when he was 4 months old. I'm not giving up my fucking rights. She's like, well, don't do that. But, how about he go to school over there for a while? So I signed a 6-month thing. Why? Because if I force him to come home, he's going to throw a fit, scream and yell, and the cops will be called. I'm stuck in a fucking box here. I have no fucking nothing I can do about it.
And you're gonna end up on support for him. Watch.
This kind of nonsense that goes on in our society, all right, about how what we're doing within the society and how it's done, it has gotten to the point where things are out of control. I used to go out and play with the local kids. All right, we'd play Smear the Queer, which is when you throw the ball way up in the air. Whoever caught it ran around while other people tried to grab him and tackle him, right? And then after you got tackled, you threw the ball up in the air, all right, and would continue the game, all right? And that's what we used to do. I used to come home from that black and blue from head to toe, having the time of my life, and my mom would go, my God, what happened to you? It's like, what? We were just out there playing. Look at all these freaking bruises. All right, as if bruises are the freaking end of the world. It's not. All right, this idea that you can bubble wrap children, that somehow our society is better off with these bubble wrap wimps that are being produced today is nonsense. Because life isn't that way. Life is hard, and there's going to be a comeuppance in such a way that these people are just going to collapse. They really freaking are. They're going to freaking go out of their minds because they don't know what society was, or what humanity really is like, and what the world is really like in there.
MC, can I just get clarification on one little point? Can you say the name of that game again, please?
Smear the Queer.
We used to call it Fumble Rumble when we played it.
Yeah,
I called it Smear the Queer too. Oh, that's how I heard it. But yeah, I know the game. I played it.
Okay, just over in England, that would mean something really, really, really different. I just need you to understand this.
No, well, back in those days, queer, all right, wasn't a derogatory term toward homosexuals. Queer was something strange or something out of the ordinary. The guy with the ball is the one who's out of the ordinary. That's why it was called Smear the Queer.
Yeah, no, like we played the game at 500. You got one guy out there throwing the ball, and he yells how many points it is, and then everybody would just collide going for the football. And once you got 500 points, you were the one to, the quarterback. You were the one to throw the ball. That was always a fun game too, and you got a lot of bruises from that as well.
Yeah, Smear the Queer sounds like what we used to call bender bashing, wasn't it, Mr. Quinn?
Yeah.
Where
That's
they did.
why I thought I'd bring that point up, because you might want to explain this to your British viewers. We may have slightly differing views on what you said. That's all.
The thing is, I'm smearing. I mean, normally that means, to actually smear something onto something, doesn't it? So that sounds more like a sexual act than an actual game, doesn't it?
Well, the smearing is just smearing him into the dirt. Like you're gonna topple him and smash him into the dirt. That was kind of the whole smearing thing.
Not smearing him in bodily fluid, then.
No, you were not smearing.
No.
Jesus Christ.
I just want to make that absolutely clear, because MC is a man who's obviously, experienced a lot and traveled a lot, but there are certain things he still hasn't experienced.
You're right.
I suspect there's certain things he still doesn't want to experience.
Are you offering him a good time? It sounds like you're offering him a good time. Is that the situation?
Well, if I could shoot that far, I'd give it a go. But MC, see if you can catch some of this.
Joshua in the chat wants us to play some queer kid stuff. No, I will not play that sick fucking channel.
Well, and that's another thing is okay. So you're worried about how children are getting raised, and then you let this kind of shit go on there, and you say this is kid friendly, right? It's just nonsense. But
it's gynocentrism, man. It's gynocentrism.
This idea.
All female perspective, dude. They think men are defective girls. That's what they think. You think I'm joking with this?
There is a lot of truth to that. I mean, I got into an argument one time with a lady on a plane, and I looked at her and I said, "This whole feminism crap is where a lot of this shit has caused a lot of the crap, a lot of the problems." For example, there used to be when I was growing up, right? You were taught as a boy, right? Big boys don't cry. This was a constant refrain. All right. If you get a little boo-boo, you get a little dirt, you get a little scrape, you don't cry. You learn control. You learn self-control. If something bad happens to you, you learn to control yourself. And now they said, no, you got to give the child room to cry. He can't be repressing his emotions. And I said, that's a problem. And she's like, no, it's not. I said, you need to treat children like that. I said, okay, well, that's all well and good when you haven't taught this child. All right, this male child now, when he's 3 years old and 4 years old and 5 years old, how to handle the simplest things emotionally, and when he turns 18 and 19 and he's 180 pounds, full of freaking muscle mass, and he doesn't control himself because something harms him, like a girl who slaps him across the face, and then he punches her and knocks her out or breaks a bone. And then you have the audacity to go, oh, my God, look at this evil man. Look at what he's done to her. Oh, this poor little child. Well, he wasn't raised right because of your stupid freaking philosophy. You never taught him to control himself. It's vitally more important for a male to be in control of himself than a female because of the power differential in muscle mass. A man, any man, generally, all right, for the most part, all right, can literally break someone else's bones. A heavy-set man, all right, can actually kill somebody with their fists.
Yeah.
There are very few women like that.
I have hit people and actually like went through cheekbones, like pushed noses straight to the fucking flat of their face. Like I've had it happen. Like, in the past like 3 years I've had it happen.
Well, no, my best friend,
people shattered their eyes. You know what I mean?
My best friend, his nose still tilts towards the left, or no, the left, because he hit me in the mouth and I fucking beat him to a bloody pulp. Guess what? We're still best friends. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, because that's they were talking about the other day. That's a fucking actual human trait is the contest fucking genes. There's something about like in our DNA, like fucking as males, we have to contest each other. And it makes us bond better as fucking individuals and as beings. It's I don't know, it's something fortified within us.
We are animals, okay? We have an animalistic instinct to us to an extent. All right. The idea that we don't have these kind of activities, and that these activities are somehow wrong or bad, they're not. They're just what we are. Learn to accept who we are and what we are. I'm not saying go out there and beat people or anything like that, but understand what we are and deal with your strengths and your weaknesses. Now, I'll be honest with you. Personally, I'm quite a violent individual. All right. Yeah. I've learned to temper this. Okay. All right. I can be quite violent and quite vicious. All right. Most people, I don't let it out because I know I've got to be careful with it because I know if I let it get free reign, all hell will break loose. Right. Literally.
That and I'll tell you what, man, like these days, like getting hit back in the mouth hurts way longer than it used to.
It does, which goes to another problem. When you get a little older and you realize you can't compete like this, then you get meaner. Okay. Then you go, you know what? I've got to end the battle before it begins. That's okay.
These are male traits that males today are missing. Like they're completely missing all this knowledge and wisdom and shit that our parents taught us and our grandparents taught us and all the shit that was taught to us to teach us to be better human beings. These kids today they're fucking completely missing it. They have no idea what they are.
And like, as a result, they're not in control.
Even that spider monkey dude who fucking, jump kick roundhouse that fucking bitch, right? That gay fucking hairdresser. He's still 3 times stronger than that broad, regardless of how much cum he drinks out of another dude's penis. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm sure he's a pansexual. It's not just you know, man's jizz. It's probably his pet dogs as well. But the
you know,
a little oil from the sex doll in the corner.
yeah, anything really. Nothing's off limit to a freak, is it? The you have come up with an interesting theory there, MC, which is that when you said you said to a woman, and the first thing you said was this feminist crap. So you pretty much you made her aware of your feelings straight away. But
yeah, because I sugarcoat everything. You know, I try to carry.
Well, it's like when you just said that you're quite an angry person. I'm shocked. I never ever thought that. You're one of the calmest people I know. And well, I saw something the other day about in our public sector over here, which would be, I suppose, for you, like you know, government employees. In this country, our public sector is now 75% female. And it made me think that obviously the government sector is everything to do with, you know, government, which could be, you know, educational policy decisions. And with that many women, because obviously I think the reason there are so many working for the government is because when they all entered the workforce en masse from the 1970s onwards, there never were enough jobs in the public sector to absorb them all. So all these jobs have been created to basically give them employment. And do you think that all these women now in governmental jobs are the ones who are coming up with all this crap, like you were saying, where, you know, the kids
I know it is.
mollycoddled?
I know it is. They've got it in their heads in Hollywood, and here in the United States, Hollywood presents images that for whatever reason, there's always been an aspect of Americans that is very much a copycat type of environment. Monkey see, monkey do. All right. And Pinoid will testify to this too. When you were younger, in your early teens, just preteen time periods, right? You would watch WWF, and you would go out there and play WWF with your friends.
Yeah, man. But we had a couple of injuries. We was scared. I had to have some conversations with the police. You know, positive.
You would jump off your bed if you had brothers and sisters or a brother to fight with. You know,
no, dude. MC, it's even worse, man. I was really into Ninja Turtles, right? I still lived in California at the time, about 8 years old. I climbed to the top of this brick fucking wall, and I go, you know what? I'm gonna do a roundhouse kick and land this shit. I did the roundhouse kick. I landed on my arm. I broke it in 2 places. I fucking went to school, and they're like, "Is there anything wrong?" I'm like, "No, I'm good." My fucking arm's hanging there, all fucked up.
Okay, like, Americans could do some of the dumbest shit that you would ever believe. I mean, there's a reason that Evel Knievel was an American, all right? And you guys just don't realize how popular Evel Knievel was. All right, during his heyday, when he was trying to jump motorcycles. Everyone wanted a motorcycle so that they could jump it in their yards. People were creating ramps to try and do it on their bicycles. I mean, this is what we used to be. This is what we were like. But then these women started coming in with all this crap, these freaking degrees, and it's the same thing in education. They get a degree and they say, well, this isn't good enough. I've got to do something to make myself stand out. I've got to do something to be different, right? So they come back with all these cockamamie theories, all right, that justifies their own political beliefs first and foremost. They have a political belief, and then what they do is they create a theory around to justify the political belief. So they ignore what reality is. And that's where you've got a lot of this social work stuff coming back. Well, this is how you can raise children. And this is a better way to raise children. Oh, and you never have to hit your child. There are children out there, and I was one of them, that you'd better learn to hit them because they are narcissistic little a-holes, all right, that look at the world and go, I wonder if I do this, what'll happen? And they're experimenting with this to see how they can work the system. At that point in time, when I was 10 years old, I wasn't looking to be a good human being. It was all about me and I. I hadn't even gotten through the concept yet. Yeah, I knew about my brothers and sisters, and yes, I was very protective of my brothers and sisters because that was the family unit. But if you were outside the direct family unit, I didn't give a shit about you.
I'm gonna tell you like this, right? I spent 114 days in in-school suspension in 7th fucking grade. All right. Literally, there was not a punishment you could give me that I would give a fuck about. All right. My mom, you know, what I mean, she had no choice but to pick up brooms and bats and tennis rackets to hit somebody like me because I just didn't give a fuck whatsoever about what anybody said. You have to beat some of these motherfuckers. It is.
My mom came after me with a wooden spoon one time and hit me when I was a teenager, and I laughed at her. Right now, I stopped laughing when she told Dad. Okay,
that was a great equalizer. When Dad over me and I ended up upside down between the beams in the drywall, right? And I'm looking up at him upside down, wondering how the fuck I got there. See, that's when you realize that maybe I should just go to school and do what I'm told.
Exactly.
Before that moment, you know what I mean? Like, that's what it takes for some motherfuckers to get it. You know, because like, you think you're Billy Badass until you meet Billy Badass, and then you realize you're good at math.
I mean, I'm surprised my dad didn't have a heart attack from what my son would do. I mean, and it wasn't the oldest. It wasn't my older brother. It was me. All right, because I was the mean one. All right, I mean, I was the one who watched to see how things go and go, okay, let's see what happens with this.
Yeah. Right. I know I'm catch a beating. I know I'm gonna catch a beating, but it's worth it. You know what I'm saying?
I've done that too, and then realized after I got the beating, well, maybe it wasn't worth it.
Sometimes the bitches, sometimes it was. You know what I mean? Like that up on that stick and busted a nut in your pants. You know what I mean? Like, yo, that was well worth it at that moment. You know what I mean? It was still worth it. It didn't matter.
Real quick,
you know what I mean?
I'm just wondering, MC, did your dad drop you off at the recruitment office? He's like, hey, go get some fucking discipline. Like, get the fuck out of the car.
No. My dad was absolutely shocked when I came home and I told him I joined the military. He was absolutely shocked. Yeah. Because it's not, you got to remember, it's not that I wasn't intelligent by any stretch of the imagination. All right. I knew that I needed self-discipline. All right. And I was like, you know what? This just isn't working for me. And I decided to go into the military to get the kind of self-discipline that I would need. That is one of the reasons why I did join the military.
And that's helped you throughout your entire life, I can imagine. Well, I mean, I've never gone through basic. I'm the type of guy, someone screaming at me, I'll punch you in the nose. I wouldn't have lasted. There's no way.
It gives you a broader perspective on the rest of the world and the rest of the nation. All right, and from that standpoint, it was very effective. It goes back and it reinforces the concept in your mind that in order to really succeed, there are other people that you have to deal with and you have to rely upon, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Relying on other people that are not part of your family is not necessarily a bad attribute to have. You just have to learn when to deal with it, and you've got to sit up there and maintain your goals. You got to maintain what's going on around you. You learned a lot of these. I learned a lot of these things in the military. The military also, I mean, it gave me anyway a physical outlet. Okay, I mean, because you could work your body, all right, to exhaustion. Just generally working on physical fitness, right? In basic training, one of the things that they do is that a lot of people don't realize this is you can go in physically fit. You can go in more or less fit and ready to go. What they'll do is they'll find, okay, his body is trained this way. He's already healthy in this regard. We're going to have your body do things it never did before, all right? And so your body's going to have to adjust to it, and you will physically be tired, and they will run you ragged. Okay, that the whole idea behind that is so you learn to work as a group. You learn to work with exhaustion. You learn to sit up there and trust your instincts, and you also learn to do things by rote. All right, where your body just responds rather than from an order, rather than you having to think about each and every little thing. Right, the military is really good about a lot of that stuff.
Here's a question. If it's too personal, then go ahead and pass it up, and we'll continue on. But are you still friends with anybody you went through basic with?
Basic, no.
Oh,
No,
okay. Because I
the
figured
reason
the
is
bond that you would get in basic, maybe some of those people would have stuck around.
The reason is because I was the only person in my unit in basic training that was going through my school, that would go to my AIT. Everyone else was going into like infantry or one of the other things. I was what they would call a REMF, right? A rear echelon MFer, right? All right. So when I left AIT, I never met any of these guys again, literally.
Oh, okay. That makes total sense. Yeah, I just figured the bond you would build going through basic together might stick through, but
the bonds that I have with several people from the military do exist to this day, but not from basic training. But that's only basic training, and it's only because I was never after my 10 weeks of basic, I never saw any of them ever again.
How long is basic training over there in the UK, Jensen?
6 months, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does that include your what you call advanced individual training?
No.
6 months of basic training? That would suck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds horrible. Like, I don't think I can put up with 10 weeks. Like, 6 months. Fuck.
Yeah, I came very close to joining the RAF about 18 years ago, and it was only when they were telling me the actual, things about how long it takes to get in, and if you even get in, then it takes you another 3 years to get back out if you can't stand it. So I kind of thought, yeah, fuck this. There's better ways of earning money.
Yeah, no, like I've said before, I took the ASVAB, which here in the States, the U.S. military puts out a test to all the high schools, I think junior year. And yeah, dude, my buddies had like 3 pages of jobs they could do. I had a goddamn novel sitting in front of me. I'm like everything from JAG officer to fucking pilot to whatever. And I'm just like, I don't know. And I kept getting phone calls from the fucking recruiters like every other day. I had to like fucking tell these people to shut the fuck up. I'm not joining.
No, but it's the other thing about the military that people don't, they hear it, but they don't really understand it, is the military, and I think Jensen will testify to this too. It's a subculture unto itself. It's not. It's a way of life. It's not a job. It's not an adventure like they used to say. It's a way of life that's totally different and totally alien to the civilian way of life. And in some ways, it's very comfortable, right? Because especially if you've been in there long enough, because you know the rules, you know the ins and outs, you know how to deal with things. There are decisions that the military makes for you that other people take for granted, but you don't realize that you don't have that skill set to make these things until you get out. For example, the military always told me where to live. For the 14 years that I was in, and even after I got married, they told us where we would live, where the housing would be, all right, which housing complex we would be situated in. We never had to go look for one because we were going to be told where we were going to live. You don't realize how easy it is to slip into that mentality, never having to worry about that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, when you get out, all right, the stress that puts on you, oh my God, I got to figure out how to get a house. How do I do that? I've never had to do that before. I mean, it sounds silly. All right. I know a lot of people are looking at me going, right now are probably going, why? Wait, what the hell's wrong with it? It's just because it's a different way of life. It's a different way of living. And at the same time, there's a lot of discipline. At the same time, there's a lot of decisions, like I was explaining, that you never have to worry about. You never take care of. All right. You're being coddled in a certain manner. And of course, when you get out, the hardest thing to deal with is the lack of discipline from people. The fact that people don't show up on time. The fact that people don't do what they're supposed to when they're at work. You don't realize how stressful that is. My first job coming out of the military basically allowed me to, take a job, and I would set my own schedule, and I would travel around. I was always on the road, right, working, and I would call my boss and tell him what I was doing every freaking every other day, right? This is where I'm going to be going here. Here's where I'm going to go here, to keep him informed, right? Finally, he looked at me and he said, MC, he goes, is there something wrong? I said, well, no. I said, then don't call me. He goes, look, I trust you to do what you're supposed to do. Don't call me. Right? Unless you have a problem that you can't solve, I don't expect to hear from you. You're doing a good job. Continue on. You're like, I froze. I was literally on the phone going, what? And for 15 seconds, I was like trying to figure out, what's he actually saying? Because it's a different mentality. It's a different way of life. It's a different thinking that goes on.
Yeah, no, Sir Blumpkin in the chat says, ask him, see if he has any crazy military stories. So do you have anything you want to share that's pretty out there?
No, I'm not going to share anything that at least on the live stream. There's a lot of crazy military stories, but I'm not going to share them here.
All right, I was just asking for the chat. It was Sir Blumpkin that was asking, so there you go. But yeah, no, I mean, I can see how it would be a different mentality. It's almost like the people coming out of a 10-year prison term, right? You're stuck in this regiment. You have a fucking procedure. You know what the rules are. You know when you're going to bed, when you're going to wake up, and everything else. And then suddenly you're thrust out into society, and you're like, oh, I can do whatever I want? This is weird.
Well, it's not that you can do whatever you want. You're just like, okay, but I also know that whatever I want to do isn't necessarily going to be the best for everyone else. So how is it that I can work together in a group? How is it I can work together in the unit? What's the unit's goals? How do I best fit into the unit's goals? You start applying military terms to your life, all right, because this is what made sense to you for a long period of time. It takes a while to get readjusted to civilian life. It really freaking does.
Jensen, I'm sure the adjustment was a little harder on you because of but how did what helped you adjust after you left the military, and how long were you in there actually?
I was actually only in there for an exceptionally short amount of time, but it was okay. The best way I can put it is I completely agree with what MC is saying. It is a complete difference from in there to out here. And the weirdest thing is out here does not understand that a lot of the shit that goes on in there actually works. And I don't want to sound like a tyrant, but a little bit more of the old spick and polish would do really well for society right now, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, Mr. Quinn wants to bring back compulsory conscription, get in the fucking military, 18 years old, and fucking learn some discipline.
I agree with him. Honestly, I honestly think that when you truly serve, you gain an appreciation for your freedoms. You gain an appreciation, all right, for like freedom of speech is a big thing for me, right? But it was learning when I was in the military, when I gave that up, all right, how precious it actually is. You learn its worth. You don't, I mean, people take for granted a lot of these things, and they forget how easy it is to have it all taken away from them. What they have to do to keep it. That's really my, how I see things. All right. When I talk about conscription, I honestly think that you should serve some time to learn what service is to everyone else. All right. Before you're allowed to vote. That's how I actually feel.
I'm opposed to that. There's people like me that no, seriously, I would have washed out. There's no way. Not physically. When I was 18, I could have fucking done basic physically, but mentally, someone starts screaming at me, my instinct is to shut them down. And you can't touch your fucking drill sergeant. I probably would have been fucking 1, fucked up, 2, washed the fuck out.
It's a different situation. The situation when you're dealing with a conscripted force versus when you're dealing with an all volunteer force, the situation is completely different. I don't think you necessarily would have washed out because you would have been watching what everyone else was doing. You learn you learn to deal with this kind of stuff. A guy getting yelled at, all right? You learn to take it for what it's worth. If you're so fragile that you can't take that, you can't take that stress, then there's a lot of other stressors in life that you're never going to be able to adjust to. All right, you're going to be a mental case for your entire life, in my opinion. All right, it's not that it's not what you think it. I mean, it's not the portrayal you see in Hollywood. You gotta take that Hollywood, portrayal and throw it away. That's not how the military functions. It isn't some strange combination of Full Metal Jacket and stripes. It doesn't work that way. That's not how the military functions. And believe it or not, the military goes out of its way to be very logical and very efficient. That's something that many people do not understand. They talk about a lot of these things, saying, "Well, look how inefficient the military is," but the military isn't inefficient. All right, it has a lot of things that the efficiencies in the civilian world would kill for. Right, the efficiency experts in the military that are in the civilian world, they're not able to do. There's a great focus on being efficient. It's not. I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, I'm failing for words on it, because part of the reason was that I never thought about how to talk about these issues. It is what it is. All right, the military is. If you went into the military, you would go through basic like everybody else. You would see what everybody else does. One of the first things that you learn, all right, is that you're not the center of the world. And this is an important concept. And you also learn to work as a group, all right, that you can achieve as a group. You can function as a group. And that your achievement, the best achievements you make are as a group. Now, in basic training, if you would have touched a drill sergeant, okay, I can tell you right now what would happen. You'd get wall-to-wall counseling, okay? You wouldn't be tossed out for getting wall-to-wall counseling, though. Now, nowadays you would, but in the conscripted army, wall-to-wall counseling happened a lot, okay? Because this was the world that they were living in, and they were getting ready. They were geared toward going to war, back in the days of the draft. All right, they were geared toward you were going to end up going to Vietnam. You're going to be in combat with Charlie, and your life is going to be at risk, and it's stressed to you repeatedly. Your life is in the hands of the guy next to you, and his life is in your hands. You need to rely on each other. You need to sit up there and work together in order to get back home. I know I'm not saying this right.
No, you are. No, and I probably wouldn't have fucking flipped out. I don't know. I've never gone through it, and I looked at it. I talked to the recruiters, and I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. Well, I'm not signing my life away for 4 years.
Let me ask a question of Quinn. Quinn, do you feel like you were brainwashed in the military?
Oh, God, no. I've been told I don't have a brain, but no, I don't. Actually, I know people get weirded out of this, but it was the best time of my life. It really was. So there's no brainwashing whatsoever. And by the way, MC, sorry, actually, fuck it, MC and Mad. I'm just going to point out the meme of Starship Troopers. I still think it would work.
Well, the book version definitely. The book, the actual Bradbury version.
Now, I may not have wanted to voluntarily.
I'm sorry, not Bradley.
Heinlein. You got to remember when they were trying to recruit me. My graduation year was 2003. Okay, we're talking about the Iraq War. I necessarily didn't really want to throw my life in to be a grunt in Iraq. So there's also that on top of my decision that I made.
What makes you think you would have been a grunt?
Well, with my ASVAB results, I probably wouldn't have been, actually. But I used that as a term. I was just throwing that out there.
You might have been the fag.
No. No, what I wanted, if I was going to join, what I wanted to do was be a pilot, either for the Navy, yeah, Top Gun influenced that, or fucking the Air Force. Yeah.
I actually find ex-military types to be, they're either incredibly obnoxious, up their own ass wankers, or they are the best people I've ever met with some of the best humor I've ever come across. And I'm lucky at the moment that I work with two. One was an ex-squaddy and one was an ex-Navy. And the ex-Navy chap, he's Welsh. He's the typical Welsh Mr. Quinn, which is angry. He's also only 5'6", so he's also got short man syndrome. So you can imagine his temperament is very, very unpredictable.
One last important question: what colour was his hair?
Oh, it was ginger. It's now gone grey.
Come on, that question needs to be asked.
Oh, mate, he's got a fucking great chip on his shoulder, and no matter what you try, you can't knock it off. But the good thing about him is that, like MC was saying, is that his whole life is just organized, even to the extent that, this is probably going a little bit too far. He has a wife, he has children. They're now adults, and they've now had their own children. But in conversation with another work colleague, we were talking about him, and he said that you do realize that he controls all the family money. I said, well, what do you mean? He said that all their money that they earn, the wife and the children, all their money goes into his bank account, and then he equally divides it as and when he feels they need the money for, like, paying the bills or doing the shopping and stuff like that. And I said, but what happens if he dropped dead? What the fucking hell would they do with the money then? He said, well, he said he's never thought of that because he said he hasn't got time to die. So he's sort of either extremely confident that he's got longevity, or it's just a sort of not necessarily controlling, but, you know, just feels
you put that out of your mind, believe it or not.
Yeah, I think it's
you don't even think along those lines. It's you just don't.
I think what it is, he's just, you know, he's that organized, and I suppose because I think his son's been in was a squaddy, but isn't anymore. But obviously the daughters and his wife and all that, you know, don't have the experience of military life that he does. So he obviously wants to bring that level of discipline into theirs. But he I think he was a trainer in the Navy, and when we get new starters where I work, especially young lads who are sort of in their early to mid 20s, he normally gets lumbered with them. And we've had one for the last couple of years who is very, very strange in that he's it almost feels like he's gone and got a trade that he doesn't really enjoy. That maybe, like, you know, his father suggested he do it because it'd be useful for the family rather than he wanting to do it. And he's not a practical person. He doesn't think for himself. He likes to be told what to do. And this annoys my former military colleague to unbelievable levels, because he will ask him to do something, like, I don't know, get some kit ready for an installation, and he will just literally look at the instructions he's given and follow them to the letter, instead of thinking, right, say you got 20 raw plugs, 20 brown, 20 blue. Oh, but this is a complicated one, where last time we did it, we probably need some extra greens as well. He doesn't think like that. If it's not on the list, he won't put it in. And I've actually joked and said he would probably have been an ideal squaddy, because he just wants to follow orders as opposed to think for himself. He's got no sort of I don't know what the right word would be for it. He just doesn't have the sort of...
He's a drone.
Yeah, he's just lacking a sort of... I don't know if it's confidence or whether it's just stupidity, but he just doesn't want to think for himself. And yeah, it does drive him, this Welsh fella, round the fucking twist.
Yeah, the people like that are not as useful as you think.
Effectively, yeah. And
I mean, they get because of their lack of initiative, because their inability to think. All right, they become a detriment to the unit. They become a detriment to the group. All right, because they're not able to get outside of the think outside. They're not adaptive. The one thing that people have the wrong impression that they want mindless drones in the infantry. No, you want to be trained to the point where you react, all right, when a situation needs it. But you don't want unthinking people, because unthinking people just drive you to no friggin' end. I had one soldier one time that didn't know how to wash clothes. And we're like, okay, well, we showed you how to put the laundry in. And then we had to explain to him, yeah, you need to put in soap. He was literally putting his clothes in the washing machine and not adding soap.
What the
you
fuck?
You would think. I'm not exaggerating.
Wow.
Okay, and so these are the people you're looking at them going, how in the hell did you even make it to this point? How did you get to your first duty assignment being as stupid as you are?
No, sorry. I'm sorry. I have to interrupt here. Your first thought was, please God, don't breed.
Okay, I can't deny that. I can't deny that didn't go through my head.
Well, my first thought is his mother did his laundry for him his whole life, and he had, no clue.
But how you can't get through basic without washing your clothes. You can't get through. I mean, there's no way you can go through life and get to the point where or should have been able to get through life to get to the point where he wasn't washing his clothes or didn't know how to get his clothes washed. It meant that he was coddled even through the military initially. All right, that's what it meant to me, and I was absolutely aghast. I walked over to our officer at the time, and I said, "You need to get this guy out of here, because I can't deal with this crap. I'm not going to freaking have to teach him every freaking thing and how to wipe his freaking nose. I'm not going to do it."
Did it transpire like his father was a high-ranking officer already, something like that, MD, which is he sort of slipped through the net easily because his family had influence or something?
I never. I actually he was gone. I got rid of him.
Okay.
So I don't.
I would have been very, very curious how he slipped through the net. That's all, because that's normally the answer when you dig.
That's a possibility. I mean, there are. I remember this one guy. We were having. I was on what they called CQ, all right, which is charge of quarters, which is basically you're there in case when the officers leave for the day, that somebody doesn't start a fire in their room and burn the barracks down. Right. That's basically what you're there for. In case there's a muster, right? I mean, you get called up. Technically, you get everybody ready to go for an alert or something like that. But everyone has CQ duty, and normally it's a 24-hour duty, and you have to be awake for the full 24 hours while you're answering phones, and basically you're the one in charge of all this stuff. So, but we were sitting down at CQ, and everyone else it was going to be a 3-day weekend for them. All right, I had just gotten the bad straw that time, and they had gathered around the CQ desk because that's where the entrance and exits were, and this guy was waiting to go on his 3-day pass, and he said his family was going to pick him up, right? And this kid, he was the goofiest looking kid, and I was just looking at him going, "Oh, I know what you're like." Right? I've met enough of you, right? Well, the conversation turned to driving, of all things, right? And he goes, "Well, I don't have a driver's license," and the other people that were there were like, "Why don't you have a driver's license?" And I never had to drive, and I started shaking my head because I could see where this was going. And one of the other soldiers looked at me and said, "Look, I grew up in the city. I mean, I took the subway everywhere and everything, and still I had to go. I went out to make sure that I got a driver's license, even though my family drove me around, or I would take the subway." And he goes, "Well, he got asked. He goes, 'Well, how did you get around?' And he goes, 'Oh, well, either we take taxis or the butler would drive, right? And the people were like, "Oh, there's no freaking way." Less than 15 minutes later, up pulls this stretch limousine. These people pop out looking as goofy as he did, right? In these Armani suits, right? And he went out there, "There's my family," and he went over and gave a hug. And we were like, "Why are you in the military?" And he told us, he goes, it had been a family tradition that they had to serve, his family made sure that their males served one tour in the military at least. And he was living up to that tradition.
Yeah, that's a tradition that really should have been broken.
With this guy, it probably should have been because he was a goofy bastard.
Yeah,
I mean, he wasn't a bad clown. I mean, he wasn't a bad guy, but he was goofy.
Yeah, it's always a problem when people end up doing these things because they're either like it's like maybe the kid I work with who just has no no ability to think for himself and is just doing something somebody else has told him. I wouldn't be surprised if he's like an arty-farty type and likes to doing, sort of craft and all that sort of gay shit. But the idea is that you should never, ever end up trying stuff like that if you know you're going to be no good at it, because you're only going to frustrate yourself and you're going to really frustrate the people you work with. Because
luckily it wasn't wartime, right? I mean, he could have been in charge of a platoon or something. And
no, he would never have been put in charge of a platoon. I guarantee you, he served his 4 years and left as someone who never received he was never promoted to sergeant or ever had troops working for him. I guarantee you that. But he at least, I mean, he was goofy, but he wasn't. He was one of those people that the unit needs, that the unit is somewhat protective of. Jensen probably knows what I'm talking about. There's certain people in the unit that you're like, okay, he's one of ours. He just, yeah, he doesn't get it. We understand, but he's not a bad guy. He's just one of ours. We have to take care of him. All right, there's always someone like that in your unit, and so he was one of those kind of guys. He wasn't the guy I was telling you about, didn't know how to do laundry, right?
I get it. Oh yeah, what you mean is fodder. You're one part of the squadron you're quite happy to send in first.
Well, no, because you don't want anything bad to happen to them. It's just there's just guys that were, their logic, their common sense isn't what everyone else's is because they've never lived that kind of life.
I think what I mean, MC, is like you said earlier on about, with your brother being like one of the most clumsy people you've ever met. Those sort of people are the ones that would literally go like into no man's land and be shot at thousands of times and not one bullet would hit.
Yes.
They really are.
My brother wasn't clumsy. He was just, believe it or not, he wasn't clumsy. I mean, he was a heck of an athlete, actually. It's just that he was freaking, if there was an accident out there when he was younger, he would find it.
But when you said that, I just imagined him throwing the javelin the furthest ever gone and spearing somebody in the audience or something.
Yeah, he could do stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, when you guys were kids, did you ever do a fucking pellet war? Pretty much, you use real fucking pellet guns or whatever and shoot at each other. Yeah, we did that, but I wasn't retarded. I actually had a nice fishing vest or whatever. A life jacket, but it was really nice, had pockets in it and shit. I would put it on and fill it up with all my fucking pellets. And then, yeah, I got shot a few times, but it never penetrated the vest. Like, I had my own fucking makeshift bulletproof vest. It was great. I miss being a kid. It was fun.
Well, if, like MC was saying, though, that won't be allowed anymore because that would be considered toxic masculinity. The boys now have to dress up in pink tutus and dance with their sisters, don't they?
Yeah, I can't tell you the lectures we would get about taking the BB guns, all right, and shooting at one another that we would get from our parents because, they were worried, rightly so, that we could put out somebody's eye, but it didn't stop us. All right, it didn't stop us from shooting at one another.
Well, no, and I had the vest on because I got hit before without the vest, and that pellet dug in a little bit. That wasn't fun.
Yeah, they sting. They definitely sting when you get hit with them.
Yeah, we can get pellet guns in this country, but it's not obviously as easy as it would be over there. But what we used to use, well, during my years growing up, was when the super soakers were very, very popular. But because of the idea of just having a high-powered water pistol wasn't good enough, we used to save up about a week's worth of piss in a milk bottle, fill the thing up, and then just go somewhere like an open park or something, and then just literally drench each other with fucking a week's worth of old stale urine.
What is wrong with you people? Holy shit.
Yeah, anything that was called, liven up a boring day.
Like I used to have pellet gun wars and like pine cone battles and snowball fights. Like you're filling up bottles of piss, dude.
Well, this is the whole idea. Is that you win. The person who was driest was the winner. So if you were good, you would avoid the piss. If you stunk a fucking slash, that meant you weren't very good at this game.
Very simple learning curve.
It's no different than, the old picking up a stick, getting a bit of shit on the end of it, and then chasing everybody with it. It's the same sort of, it's kind of like a torture tactic, I suppose. And again, that will come under toxic masculinity.
Hey, you guys want to see a dead body?
I am feeling hungry.
I'm kidding.
Yeah,
Put down the knife and fork. I'm joking.
Mr. Quinn is extremely peckish.
Yeah, no, it's the thing is that you didn't the people you wanted in the military were people that were disciplined, who could react if the situation, if a surprise situation came up, but who also were cared about the mission, put the mission first, and then put their people immediately next. That's why I have such a harsh time listening to people whine to me about freaking civilians. When you're in the military, all right, your job, you have a mission. You go out there and do the mission. All right. Then your next priority is to your men. It's to it's to the people that you're leading. It isn't to some group of people that you don't know who have a euphemistic standpoint of saying, well, they're civilians. I'm not saying you go out there to try and target them, but at the same time, do you think I care about a civilian when in a war situation? I don't. I flat out don't, and I never will.
And that's the difference in mentalities, because I am a civilian and I happen to care about myself.
Care about yourself. It's not like I don't care about myself. I'm not denying that part of it, but if you expect the military to go out there and look at civilians first, no, they've got a different mentality in mind.
Well, here's
job is to get their job done.
The military shows up out here. I'm packing up my fucking wife and family, and we're headed to the woods. Because something bad's going on. If they're out here, like, I'm fucking outie, dude. I'm not gonna deal with them. I'm gonna grab my guns, my fucking compound bow, all the ammo and arrows I have, and we're headed to the fucking woods.
Have you got your bug bag packed?
I do not have a bug out bag. I should probably do that, actually.
Yeah.
Especially
so basically, you're escaping from the regular army and then running straight into the woods. So you're then facing the mercenaries.
Well, I'll be the mercenary. I'm going to start my own militia, my friend.
Yeah, I would imagine by that time they would have turned to cannibalism just like Mr. Quinn, and most of your family would have been devoured. So that's not necessarily a good idea there, Mad Dodge. I think if I were you, I just, as soon as the military turn up, hands in, I'll conscript, I'll join.
No. If it's the cougar or the military, I'm going to fucking face the cougar. I'm not going to deal with these fucking...
for all you know, your missus might actually love the idea of a man in uniform. You ever suggested that,
that would be why I would run her off into the woods, my friend. Like, that's part of the plan. Get her away from the military, guys.
This sounds like the sort of the cuck's guide to getting out of the military. No, you really ought to just accept your fates. Conscript.
Did you really just say that? The cuck's guide to get out of the military. God damn it!
It is.
I'll be right back.
It's almost like saying, you know, it's either, you know, sign up or you know, change your gender. And there's Mad Dodge sort of like, well, can I at least have some time to think about it?
Any rebuttal?
I don't know. I think he really is going off to think about it.
No. I told the kids they could have this trail mix, but I wanted some of the croutons left, and I got like a partial crouton. That's it. These kids are evil.
That is technically, they didn't lie. They gave you some.
Yeah. Anyway, what you worrying about there, Mad Dodge? Have you signed any of them up already for a conscription?
No, you don't have to sign up for the selective service until you're 18 years of age, and yeah, the closest I have is my 13-year-old son, and I was thinking about putting him in military school, actually.
Really?
Does he know this?
Oh yeah, I showed him the website. It's bookmarked. It's bookmarked. Like, he knows I've been thinking about it, little shithead.
Oh, I see. This is to contest his, you know, compulsion, is it? To see if he can control it. I'm going to send you to the military, son, and there ain't a fucking thing you can do about it. And if he just calmly says, fair enough, father, not a problem, or if he acts violently, you know you've probably got a kid with problems.
Well, you know what the issue is, too. We were talking about the whole CPS thing and all that. I took his cell phone away when he went to his mother's, right? Now he has a bigger and quote-unquote better cell phone that she gave him. Yeah, I'm not being set up at all. Getting this 13-year-old. No, Dad takes your cell phone away because he's not going to pay it anymore. Oh, here's a new cell phone, son. Yeah, that's nothing. I'm just making that shit up, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'm going to side with the son. Yeah, Dad's evil.
No, but it's you guys are bad. No, unfortunately, that's one of the things that happens with a divorce. Is that the divorce is contentious in any way, shape, or form. The one thing that the family can do, right? The two adults can do is to hurt the other adult. The easiest thing to do is to basically use the children as weapons, and it's easy to do, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe Mr. Quinn has got it right, which is his divorce is very expensive and very emotionally draining. So you may as well use that energy to murder your soon-to-be ex-wife and consume her. And that way, in the end, she costs you a lot less money and gives you a lot of energy. So yeah.
Feed the children.
Feeds the children as well.
She's providing for her family. We honor her with her sacrifice.
Feeding the children with part of their own DNA. Yeah.
What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong apart from severe genetic fucking problems later on in life? But
genetic, mental. I mean, what's the difference? It's just a little bit of insanity among friends.
Yeah. The thing is, MC, as ridiculous as this sounds, I'm sure in some university, and I'm probably guessing in your country as much as ours, that these sort of theories are actually being discussed.
Yeah,
because
they are, and they're being discussed seriously.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, no, real quick, I would like to invite you guys to a barbecue. Anyway, moving on.
Now, I want you to think about what you just said, Mad Dodge, and then think of the people that you're talking to. How do you think that barbecue is going to go?
I'd be very suspicious at a Mad Dodge barbecue, because I go to one and I'd count all these kids, and when you go to the next one, I'm sure I counted 117 last time. You know, it's not a very good barbecue. There's only ever one hot dog, and there's only ever like a massive brisket roll. You know.
Well, to be fair, I was raised Catholic. All right, I have an excuse. Guy Fawkes did nothing wrong. Anyway,
raised Catholic. Oh dear, oh dear. You obviously have a beautiful singing voice, Mad Dodge, but you bet your arsehole's torn to shreds.
You know, you're trying to be funny, but I was in vocal jazz and choir all the way through high school. You prick.
You're not helping your case, Mad Dodge. Just let you know.
Yeah,
you're not
you
helping your case.
You really shouldn't have started that with your, you know, you're just trying to be funny. But I would have, if that had been me, I would have just said, none of that happened. That would have been the end of conversation. Instead, you just backed up my claim. Thank you very much.
And the word is backed up, right?
He was Dingley Club.
I will show you on the doll where the priest touched me. There is no doll. See, nothing happened. No.
Nah, he'll just show you where he had to be stitched.
Oh.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Glue and duct tape, that'll do it.
A little duct tape fixes everything.
So,
The other thing about the military is you learn what's important. It does change your prioritization to where you can prioritize very quickly mentally.
Duct tape.
And duct tape fixes a lot of shit for temporary purposes to get by. That's the other thing is you tend to learn to get by, get things to get by, to get done with it, and then deal with the situation afterwards.
Does it teach you how to deal if you're living in a tin pot trailer with far too many children?
You eliminate the children.
Hang on, I didn't necessarily say I was talking about you, did I, Mad Dodge? I was just thinking a completely hypothetical situation.
Right.
Well, when you have something that's a problem, you eliminate it one way or another, and you do it in the most efficient and effective manner.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
MC,
Ideally with
my military wing of my cult.
Yeah.
Nicely.
I would fit in nicely with your wing of the cult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I
would
would
be in
suggest-
charge of the military wing, sir. What do you think?
Sounds good. I like the idea.
All
Yeah,
right.
you must carry out your mission with extreme prejudice.
That's not a problem.
I'm guessing that if this was a regiment that MC had complete control of, especially if it had government influence as well, he would probably be making suggestions that all the women who worked in the governmental department should probably resign immediately, because they might be coming up with policy that was driven more on emotion than necessarily, common sense, especially in terms of human behavior.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to say it in the nicest possible way, rather than saying you fucking over emotional fucking human wreckage. Stop Moscow making policy.
If you come crying to me in a situation about why things are the way they are, you're gone. Yeah. If you can't sit up there and meet the standard, you're gone. I'm not pussyfooting around. I'm not going to sit up there and hold your hand. I'm not expecting to have to hold your hand. If you can't pull your weight, you're gone. Get out. And that's the polite way of doing it.
MC, you probably would have fired me.
No, I doubt that, because there's a difference between being trained, all right, versus somebody that's incompetent. And it's easy to identify those people. There are people who are just there to get by. All right, you can identify who those people are very quickly. All right, as long as people are trying to do their jobs and they're efficient about doing their jobs. It's not that you don't expect people to make mistakes. All right, because everyone makes mistakes. Everybody knows this. Okay, but what you can't tolerate, and what you should never tolerate, is people making the same mistake again and again and again, who should know better. Right? A mistake is what happens when you didn't know better. Right? Or you panicked in a situation. Those things happen. But if you keep panicking in those situations, if you keep making these mistakes, if you can't think outside the box and never are able to think outside the box, you have no reason to be in that position. You should be removed. And I'm not going to make an excuse because, well, you just had a bad day because you were a woman. That and you had needs, and oh, by the way, you know, I've got to run to the TMC because my boo boo hurts. You know, I'm sorry if you can't be there. Bye, goodbye.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. We're getting close to 2 hours here. What battle are we talking about tomorrow, MC?
Your favorite battle, Chancellorsville.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, Chancellorsville. I like half the battle. I like the ending as well. I just want to skip the part where Stonewall gets shot. Can we just forget about that?
You think I'm going to forget about that?
Fair enough. Hopefully, 40 ounce will be around to balance it out. I don't know. Anything else you guys want to talk about, or should we wrap it up right here?
No, I'm good, mate. I think we're done unless anyone else can.
Yeah, I'm ready to go to bed anyway. So yeah, it's probably time to pack it in.
All right. Well, thank you. Good night. Good luck, and don't fucking go to Europe and fuck the European colt and shove it right up her ass. It's big enough. Later. Peace.